Hello friends, in this video tutorial, let us see the concept of SSAS deployment wizard. So, we will treat this particular video tutorial as the first part for the deployment series. That is, we will have multiple videos on SSAS deployment, and we will treat this particular as the first part for the deployment. That is, in this video tutorial, we will cover the concept of deployment wizard. Okay, so now for this tutorial, let us start with the cube that we had developed in our earlier video tutorial. Now if we go to properties and deployment, we can see that we have selected processing option as full and the server mode is deploy all, right? We have also specified server name and database name over here, right? And if you go to the build part, then you can see that the output is /bin folder. So where is it lying? It's actually lying in our SSAS dev3 solution. We have got a /bin folder. Okay, so let's go to that folder. So this is the folder. Okay, SSAS dev3 /bin. Right now there are no files lying in this folder. Okay, so now once we right click and once we say build instead of deploy or process, we are just asking SSAS to build the project. Okay, so we are not deploying it on the server and we are not processing the data part, right? We are only doing the deploy part. So the build is successful, so we are only doing the build part and it is successful. So let's go to our bin folder, and now we can observe that there are 4 files created, out of which the first file has the maximum size and it's the database deployment contents file. So this is the main file and it internally uses these 3 files during the deployment process. Okay, so now how to use this file? For this, with the help of this file, actually we can deploy our SSAS cube inside our SSAS database. Okay, so for this, let us go to SQL Server 2014 analysis services deployment wizard. Okay, so the deployment wizard starts and we need to specify the database file. Now by database file we mean this first one. Okay, AS database with the extension of AS database, that is analysis services database deployment contents file. So for this, let us go to our cube. Now inside bin this file is lying, right? So when we go inside the bin folder, it shows this file. So let us select it. So now let us click next. Now if you remember, then we had specified these options over here, right? We have specified the name of the server and the database. To specify these 2 things was not compulsory when we are interested only in building the project. Okay, if you want to deploy or process, these things are required, but if you want to only build, then these things are not compulsory. Okay, but as we had already given these values over here, it has taken those values as the default values over here. This we can change. So if you want to change the server, we can change it over here, and if you want our cube to get deployed in some other database with some other name, then we can change it over here. Okay, so but right now let's keep it as it is. Okay, so let's click next. Now there are some options for partitions. So if you go by the first option, then it will replace all the partitions, and let's go by the default option for roles and members also, which means new roles or members will be added and the existing ones will be retained. Next. Now over here we have to specify the base database from where data is fetched. Okay, so base database in our case is lying on this database engine. Okay, and this is the name of the database. Okay, so it's correct. If you want, we can change it over here. Now usually in production environment we will not go by service account, so let's do one thing. Let's change this to something else. Okay, so let's go here and let's go to the database engine. Let's go to logins, copy. Okay, so let's use the administrator user. Okay, let us change this thing also to administrator user. Okay, so now what we are saying is that we will connect using administrator user. Okay, also if you want our logs, our error logs to be present at some other location, okay, at location other than the default locations, then we can specify the full path over here. Similarly, if you want to change the storage location of the database or the cube measure groups, then we can change the locations over here. Now these are very important features provided in the deployment wizard, because this can impact performance. See, the data, ideally what you would like to do is you would like to have these measure groups deployed in different drives, okay, so that reading of data from one drive or one cube doesn't impact reading of data from the other cube, right, or the other measure group. So that's why you will ideally like to have different measure groups which are there in different partitions, right. We will ideally like to have these partitions or measure groups to be deployed in different drives, right. So in this way you can change the storage location over here. Now when we are deploying using our development environment, when we are going over here and taking the deploy option, we were not able to get these options of specifying the exact place where we want to, or the storage location for the cube as well as measure groups, right. But now over here we are able to specify the exact storage locations which we want. So this is kind of adding flexibility to our deployment process, and this is very much useful from the performance point of view. Now database storage location also will have an impact, right. So these all things you can specify. Over here it is written that keeping it empty will mean the default data directory. So right now I want these deployments to happen in the default data directory, so I will just keep it empty. I will not change the values, but these are very important values. These values can be changed in the production environment for performance improvements. Okay, now that is using the storage locations. Now let's go to the next button. Over here we'll select the full processing option, right. Next, now if you want to generate the deployment script, you can click this. Okay, if you click this, if you go to next, if you come back, see what happens. It has generated this XMLA script over here in the bin folder. Okay, so if you want, you can generate the script in this way. Now, and this script you can schedule later on for deployment through SSAS jobs, that is through database agent jobs, right. But right now what we'll do is we will deploy it. We don't want to create the script. Let us deploy it right now. Okay, so we have clicked the next button and the deployment has started, right. So the deployment has completed. So let's click next. So it's giving us a message that the deployment has been successfully finished. So let's click finish. Now how to verify whether deployment has happened or not? So for that, let's go to our SSAS database. Right now we are not able to see, so just refresh it and we are now able to see our db_3 database, right. So this means our deployment has now happened through this particular file, this database file created by building the our SSAS project, right, our SSAS cube. So I hope friends this particular video tutorial on SSAS deployment wizard is useful to you. Thank you.